Hi everyone, welcome to the new episode of the podcast. I'm so happy to be here with Tabea Zoé. She's the first guest of the podcast.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, we were just laughing already before the start recording, and we're already in a mood, right? Like to
Yes.
like let's just record it. And I wanted just to introduce you a little bit.
Okay.
Um, yeah, you can introduce yourself a little bit. How would you introduce yourself? Of course, don't worry. I was going to say that you are a creative consultant, creativity coach, that you are also interior designer,
Yes.
that you are a master of the feminine and masculine
Ah.
interplay, a channel, like you just channel so many things. So yeah, that was what I was going to say about you, but like it's hard to put people into it's not just what you are, right? Like you just
Yes.
yeah.
But I mean that's good. I would say the same thing. I think it's always hard to just say, okay, I'm this, I'm that.
Hmm.
Mm. I used to even with interior design, I studied interior architecture. So when I said, okay, I'm an interior designer, I feel like, oh, I'm in this box. And now it's kind of put in a word that defines me in a limiting way. So I'm always kind of redefining how to introduce myself. I would also say I'm a creativity coach, and my whole process is based on the integration and the interplay between feminine and masculine energy. I wouldn't introduce myself as a channel, but maybe I should.
I think you are, like many times. I think the first time I started following you, I remember that you just shared some story or something about like what you were getting into the collective consciousness, like even not predicting, but like what is what are the influences for the future. I believe in that time you were even thinking, like speaking about the fact, for example, in the content creation area, like how the long type of content, is going to be.
Yes.
I remember that was a long
Oh,
time ago
wow.
because I literally screenshotted because I was like, oh, this is so cool because I really see myself with what you like captured, and I was like, yeah, that's like I kind of see myself on this area of content creation that is not only like short, like 10-second reels, which sometimes can be fun, but it's like,
Yes.
yeah, I
Yes,
remember that and I felt
that's
very
so
inspired.
yeah, that's so interesting. I used to be in the beginning of COVID. I got really into the topic of trend forecasting. And
Mm,
so it's all about future forecasting. And there are these mega trends that will evolve over
yeah,
10 to 30 years. And you can predict so much. And I really got into it. But it is an art. So it is based on the development until this point, but also about just seeing how things connect and could evolve not in a linear way, but more in this exponential growth way. So I really got into it, and I started to kind of look at what I see as predictions myself as like future forecasting. And then it kind of evolved because I'm so intuitive that I would just say what I feel in the collective energy without the all the research behind it. But it all kind of turned out to be true. And just a couple of weeks ago, I thought I should share more about this again because I feel like now I could say, oh, this came true, this came true, this came true.
oh my god,
So,
yes, she
yeah.
should. I remember that for me was so fascinating, and I was like, how does she know that? Like how but it's like we all have the ability to tap into the collective consciousness, but of course I when I say that you are a channel, I say that you are extremely intuitive by
Yes.
so that's like we all have that ability, but some of us are just more open and receptive of it, and yeah, it's a
Yes.
kind of it's a magic, but
Yeah.
that we all have. It's just like, are you practicing? Are you
Yes.
allowing it? Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is. Are you practicing intuition? It is a practice. So you have to get
Yes.
into it. And the more you allow to express yourself in this intuitive way, the more it also comes out. So I get all of these. Now I receive so much information. I often sleep with a hat on because I feel like,
Really?
yeah, I need to kind of protect myself from the energy, especially
Oh,
on the full moon. I feel like the energy is so intense. So I have
wow.
to kind of protect my energy now because
Hmm.
I developed it in such a way and a rapid way actually over the past few years. So yeah, but you really can get into it and train yourself to become more intuitive. And it's just about allowing intuition to work through you rather than learning a new skill. It is already within you.
Yeah, because I think like people many times have this misconception is like you either are an intuitive
Yes.
person and you're not. Like the same goes to creativity. Like I hear so many people like, oh, you either are a creative person or you're not. And that's like bullshit. Like I don't believe in that. Like
Yes.
it's so like I remember when I was growing up, like when I was young, I used to love like writing and I knew that I was like very creative. And then when I was like a teenager, I was like completely went to like the way to more like mental part and like more
Your
logic.
masculine energy.
Yeah, like the masculine energy. And because that was like, okay, I have to deliver results, like I have to have good grades. Not like everyone was making me pressure, but it was like myself like putting that like pressure on me. And in that time I was like, yeah, I guess I'm not creative. I remember in that, it's crazy because now I consider myself a very creative person with a lot of ideas, with a lot of like I just have so much like creativity. But I remember in that time I did like, school projects, and I would be like, oh no, I will just do what like the leader of the project, she will have the ideas. And I was just like, I would not put myself out there. I would not,
Mm.
I might would have some ideas, but I was just like, yeah, I'm good. I'll just go with it. And then I just realized that it was just me not showing up like to life, because once you are
Yes.
creative, once you share your ideas, like you are exposing yourself. That could be failure. There's not really failure, but like there could be judgment. There could be like, you are putting yourself in a vulnerable place. And I was like not doing that at all. Like I was just like, yeah, just do
Yes.
whatever you want to do. I'll just keep it cool and like not expressing my ideas or my creativity. And then, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And it all comes back to your self concept. So, how you perceive
Mm,
yourself. If you always say, oh, I'm just not creative, you close yourself off to even experiencing your own creativity. And that's what I said in the beginning about the definition. I always think about, okay, how do I define myself and in what ways does it limit me to put myself in a box? And I think it was a year ago, I felt like, oh, okay, I'm always talking about creativity, but always in the context of design or as something functional, kind of.
mhm,
And I asked myself, okay, what would happen if I would just say I'm an artist? Because for me, the definition of artist is much broader and wider and not as defined. And um, so I was in the shower and I thought, okay, Muse, work through me. I'm an artist now. I'm just an open channel for you to create through me. Whatever you want me to create, I will do. And I really devoted myself to that. And I said, okay, for just 1 month, I will see what happens if I'm just completely in a receptive state. And my creativity up level to a whole new thing of receiving ideas, but also I got back into poetry. I was just creative in such a different way, and not
wow,
only in my business, but in all of life, where a lot of things clicked into place, where I felt like, oh, before I still held back, just as you said, this holding back, oh no, this still needs to make sense, this, oh, I need to be this logical, and kind of this pressure all around. And in that moment, I mean, I feel like I have deconstructed a lot of pressure and these expectations around who I am or how to express myself over the past 7 years. But now, last year, it really got to a new level where I feel like, okay, I'm a witch now. I can channel. I'm just completely out there. I do not need to be rational at all anymore.
Oh, I love that. That's just like a liberation. Like
Yes.
that because oh my God, I keep on like still struggling in a air quote, like with defining myself. I literally like sometimes like even the bio on Instagram. Sometimes
Yeah.
I'm inspired, but sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't know, like it's
Mm.
like putting that definition, like for me is also like really hard because I feel like we keep on changing so much and it's like how can I allow like to just be what it is in every moment. And of course like there's moments that you are really into, like I don't know, in 1 month I'm really into something, and then in the next month or even less, sometimes like 1 week or a few
Yeah.
days I'm into something else, and like that's okay, like that's normal. But it's just I believe that the thing that we being taught is like, oh, you kind of have to keep like, so you like this, you're interested in that, you work that, so you work that all the time, and it's always like
Yes.
the same. But we know that that's not like the human nature. Like that's not the
Yeah.
nature of the nature around us is always changing. The universe, like it's just
Yeah.
limiting. And
Yes.
then yeah,
And I
but I
think,
love what you said about the witch. Sorry, I just love what you said about the witch. I was like,
yeah. I think it also, so what helps me is to define myself as a fluid entity. So to just say, okay, I am so fluid and flexible. I actually wrote a poem about it, and you can find it on my Instagram if you scroll
oh,
down a lot about, okay, what it feels like to always grow out of your comfort zone, always grow out of the box that you put yourself in. And I have two like exercises I do to kind of redefine myself. One is to define myself, give myself the identity that I actually want to grow into. So I'm not yet that person, but I will just
amazing.
say, oh, I am a creativity coach now before I even start, just to grow into the identity of that.
Wow.
So it pushes you into becoming the person you need to be to actually embody that version
Yeah,
of
that's already
yourself.
manifestation. Like
Yes,
that's already
that's
like everything in manifestation, pretty much.
yes, yeah. And the other thing is to think about time, as I said, with the future forecasting. If you think about time as not a linear thing, but your growth throughout time as exponential growth, you can grow into new identities much quicker. So, what I mean
Wow.
by that, if you look, I have this exercise, I will just quickly share it. So,
Yeah, yeah, go
you
ahead.
write down what where you are at right now in this moment in the middle of a page, and then you go back into the past, always in 1 month steps, to see, okay, where was I 1 month ago. So if you want to manifest a large podcast following, for example, you put
Mm-hmm.
yourself, okay, I'm here right now. Okay, how did I grow throughout the process in the last month? Always stepping back 1 month ago, 1 month ago, and just write down what happened a month ago. And this way you can also see how much you manifested and grew
Mm.
already in those past months. And then when you have gone back, I mean, maybe 6 months, you go back to the point where you're at right now. And then you say, okay, if growth isn't linear but exponential, what would happen next month? What would be the most incredible, magical thing that could happen within a month if I would think about growth as a leap or something sudden, like a quick shift and change where suddenly there's this windfall of abundance or this windfall of luck. And then you go into in these kind of steps next month, next month, and this way, you see that you can grow throughout time in such a different way than what you would be able to if you would stick to the identity that you have defined yourself through from the past, from your past experience. But from this moment moving forward, I will look at the future as the realm of potential and anything is possible. How can I grow through that?
Wow, I love that. I'm going to do it. I love that. I think it's so potent because and also I spoke that yesterday with my therapist that it was like I already have this in my mind of like there are infinite possibilities. The change like can happen like this, it can be like a
Yeah.
quantum leap, it can be so fast, but I still was like, yeah, but I still feel like my body is still not fully like believing it, you know what I mean? But then
Yes.
it was like, okay, let's just do, for example, this exercise of like moments in your life where your life changed like this. Like it can be in so many ways. It could be like getting a new job or like, oh, deciding on a leap, like, oh, I'm going to travel there with it, and how it changed like your view. And so it's like, oh, see how this already happened in my life. Like my life changed it. There was infinite possibilities that I couldn't see. And like it's just going in this way, I'm like going back to prove myself that that belief is true, like instead of like,
Yes.
is it really truth? And then I'm like, oh yes, I live this, I experienced this, oh yeah, it is
Yes.
true. Like because sometimes we're like, oh, like I don't know, but then it's like literally you have proofs like that, and can be your own life, can be the other people's life, like how much I know, for example, a girl that I follow, oh, she just grew, like she's super young. She's like 22 years old, and she just grew like her business, and she just had a quantum leap of like going viral or something like that. But it can go in infinite ways, right? It's just not
Yes.
only by the social media. It can go, we don't even know, or mind cannot even perceive, but it's like it can happen so fast and so like exponentially, and we are
Yeah.
the only ones that limit that when we say, oh, it cannot happen, it will take 10 years, it will take 2 years, like that's us putting like the limits. And
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. Exactly. Because we experience time in a linear way. We put linear thinking onto time,
that's so
even though,
amazing.
yeah,
Yes,
even though time is not linear. And we know this already that that if you think about the other dimensions beyond the fourth dimension or the third dimension, so the fourth dimension is time, and we know that if we think about the other dimensions coming beyond that, that we most likely experience time in a way like an ant experiences the three-dimensional space. They do not perceive it as a three-dimensional space. So if we think about that, okay, we have such a limited perception of time. What does that mean? And how can we lean more into the possibility of the potential that time actually holds? But I
wow,
also wanted to say the other thing, what you said about my body isn't there yet. And this is the same experience. We experience time in a linear way. So we always need to ground back into our body and regulate our nervous system to be able
yes,
to hold the potential. Even if we think about leaving our comfort zone and growing in general, we always need to regulate our nervous system to keep up with us. And I
yes,
also feel like I often have these phases where I'm like, oh, my nervous system isn't here yet. And I just let myself feel all of the emotions. And sometimes it's just, I feel like it's a past emotion that doesn't even relate to my current
hmm,
reality, but it's just something that needs to leave my system so that I can move on. And but I also work with an energy healer that will just help me cleanse my energetic space of anything that is holding me back. So there are different ways to kind of work with your energetic body or your actual physical body, your nervous
yes.
system, to support you on that journey of growth.
Yeah, like my therapist always my go-to as well, because she's also like has a somatic approach, but also like the energetic and spiritual and everything. And also many times I literally have manifested things like change of beliefs or changes of the way I feel simply by putting the attention to the universe or asking, you mean we are the universe, asking my inner self, my higher
Yes.
self, whatever. I was just ask, oh, it'd be so nice like to feel more definite possibilities. It would be so nice to have this certainty, to have this knowing. And then like there's like that already happened to me in another, about other beliefs or about other perspectives that I was feeling icky. Like sometimes in one day randomly it just vanished and I just
Yes.
shift like this and it's like okay, like I didn't, like it feels like it was like, it was in an instant, like that already happened to me, like oh, out of a sudden, like I just, that thing just dropped from my head, which I knew, like I had that idea, just went through myself, through my body, and it's like okay, wow, it dropped, like.
Yes.
And it
Yeah.
can happen, like that's why I think so many times, like we over like complicate with manifestation, because I started to manifest things like so easily, like just like just speaking to the universe or just speaking, and not only like material things, like I know that I manifest like emotions and like shifts of my beliefs, like different perspectives, so quickly, like I just ask, and then like 2 days after, or sometimes even earlier, like I ask for the universe, and then okay, then someone tells me something that makes sense to me and just drops it, or I read about something, or I listen about something, like the universe will give you like this. So you ask for that, so there you go, like you have these things that will help you, like to remember something or to shift the perspective or to feel certain emotions. And for me it's like oh my god, it's like can be it can be, and it is supposed to be easy. I don't believe that it's supposed to be complicated, like yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so too. I think, um, I mean, the same goes for the law of assumption. I think you need
Yeah.
to be at a place where you are actually subconsciously believing that it is possible. So I think even what we said about the nervous system, that is also a sign that your subconscious isn't ready for the manifestation. And so I really believe in reprogramming the subconscious mind so that you are able to step into that and leave behind all the old stories and roles that you played and everything that is holding you back, all your
Mm-hmm.
limiting beliefs basically. But I think once you are at a point where you truly believe it on a subconscious level, you are able to just leap in the way that you said, or manifest in that way where it feels like kind of magical and you just ask for it. and and that's also when you actually listen to the universe.
Yes.
You listen for the signs, and for you listen to yourself and you ask for the guidance. I mean, I always tell people, maybe you should just ask. Maybe you should just
Yes.
ask for the guidance. And I had this, I think it's so interesting, even with the podcast, because I really feel we manifested each other in
Yes,
the
we
moment.
did. I wanted to speak about that too,
Yeah.
like
And I think, like, when was it? Like 1.5 years ago, I was at a festival and I did a cacao ceremony. And even before I drank the cacao, I was just sitting there and I had this download of, if you knock on doors, they will open. And this has
wow.
been kind of a mantra for me since then, moving forward, to just ask for things. And that's also how I will just share my part of the
Yeah, yeah,
story.
go ahead. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's how this manifestation felt for me, because I kind of felt like, oh, I really want to speak more in conversation and speak on podcasts. And I had started my own podcast like a while ago, and but always fell off of doing it because I feel like the vision isn't clear enough for me yet what my podcast
Mm,
should be. So
yes.
I'm not as dedicated to it because the vision isn't clear. But I thought, okay, um, maybe I should just talk on other people's podcast. And this was a week
Week
ago.
a
It was
week ago,
exactly
yeah.
a week ago.
Yeah, I think it was like literally a week ago.
Yeah. So I was sitting right here where I am right now and thought, oh, maybe instead of, oh, I need to schedule in when I will research what podcast I could write and stuff like that. I was kind of
Yeah,
in this mind of
the mind. Yeah.
overthinking, overanalyzing. And I was like, maybe I should just post a story about it. So I posted a story on my Instagram. Hey, I really want to talk on podcast. Can anyone recommend podcasts? And that is when you said, yes, my podcast.
And like the my side of the story was
Yes.
like I was telling, we were speaking a little bit before we start recording, like how I've been planning like to have literally guests, like because as well in my podcast, like I love like also solo episodes, but I was like, I have this dream, like literally what I'm doing right now is a manifestation. It's a vision that I always had. Like literally, I was like, I'm going to record a podcast tomorrow. I was like, yes, this is my dream life. Like I would do this, like paying, not paying, I don't care. Like this for me is so much fun that it's like just I could do this like almost all day, not all day, then we'll get tired. But like it's something that I generally love, and then all the time I was like, oh, I really want to bring like a podcast. I really want to bring guests into the podcast, like having this conversation, because I feel like you just go, it's I believe it's so much more fun. Like I truly believe that it's way more fun. And now it has been on my mind for like a year, like
Mhm.
a little bit less than a year. And I in that time I invited someone that it will also be on the podcast later on. But then I didn't do anything. I was like, oh, I don't know. I was so afraid of like committing to someone and then not being able to manage like the technical part
Yeah.
and like all of that. And it's just like being afraid of being like a beginner and being afraid of also like bother sometimes, like, oh yeah, you have to wait a little bit because I'm like figuring out how to work with
Yeah.
this, like. And so it went on in 1 year, and then last week as well, or like 2 weeks ago, that started again. Like I want to bring guests, I want to bring guests, and you were already one person that I was like, I want to bring Tabea. Like I was going to invite you already, but then it just felt way easier because you just said that, and then I was like, okay, I have to, because I said yes, so now I have to do it.
Yeah.
Like now I can't like come up with excuses and like, oh, wait a little bit more to know better how to work with the program and blah blah blah, and just like go for it. It's all like this day will be recorded. It's the first time that I had a guest, so it's going to be fun. Like I will look
Yeah.
back and be like, oh, do you remember the first day? Yeah.
But I also think it's so funny because I said it before we started recording that oftentimes when manifestations come through, for me, the other person isn't quite ready yet. And I'm often in the situation where the other person is like, oh no, shit, shit, I need to step up. I need to get my things in order. I need to do it now. And
But
now I
yeah,
need to
that's why you were
commit.
a manifestation for me, because you gave me that, like, you didn't say anything to me like, oh, you have to do it. But it's just like, okay, I have a commitment. I
Yeah.
want to do this, so I'm going to do this.
Yes,
Because yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And I mean, even when you asked me, okay, when do you have time? And I was like, I can do it whenever. And then when we said Wednesday, I felt like, I think it's just fitting because it's 1 week since we said, yes, we will do it. And to just do it as quickly as possible. This is something
Oh
also when we
yes.
think about the creative process, if we have some form of resistance in general or perfectionism and
Mhm.
we tend to procrastinate, it is so good to take this spark of inspiration and this motivation that comes when an idea comes in or a new inspiration comes in or a manifestation comes in, to just take it and run with it. Because if you then wait longer or do not immediately commit yourself to this thing or dedicate yourself to that thing, you will get into your mind and start overthinking. And if you can think about it as this fire. If there is this spark of fire within and you say,
Mhm.
okay, now I'm going to commit to it, then you put all this wood on top of the fire so it burns bigger. And then you can take it for such a long, it will just last you longer. The intrinsic intrinsic motivation will keep on building momentum and momentum for you to keep going. But if you have the spark of inspiration, like this little fire inside of you, and you think, oh no, I will get back to it later on, it will just die down, and it will just, the flame will lose its fire. Yeah, exactly. And then to ignite it again, you need this extra push from whatever outside of you or inside of you to get back into it.
Oh my God, that's amazing because I'm just like, I feel once again you're speaking to myself and feel like, do
Yeah.
it. Because, like, literally, like, I think was a week ago. Yeah, what, a week ago, I was like, okay, I think we can hear a little bit. My dog is like barking a little bit. That
Don't worry.
you, it's the real life. But
Yes.
yeah, we are not in a studio yet. One day, I would love to record an episode on the studio. But yeah, and so, like, I had this idea of like these classes that I wanted, and I start like doing like the post for the Insta story, the social, like the normal post and everything. And I was like, okay, I'll just see, like, and then you kind of like start procrastinating. You start to get into
Mm,
that perfectionism. Oh, maybe it's not ready. Maybe I'll wait. And that's exactly what you said. It makes so much sense to me, and I will really bring into my life of like, when you feel that spark of inspiration, like, go for it, like jump
yeah.
into it, like, because then you also get more used to do that, because then it's also a practice of like, okay, like, I tried once, I tried twice, like, I've done it, it's fine, I'm able, because
Yes.
yeah, I just really going to take it to my life, because right now you just spoke exactly what I needed.
As always.
Yes, always you're like telling me do it without even knowing, or like without like realizing. I'm just like, okay, okay, she got me.
Um, but also, I think it's just this embracing trial and error, basically.
Yes.
So, if we take everything we do so seriously, we also think we always need to be perfect. And I think there are so many different ways to overcome perfectionism. And perfectionism is a form of procrastination, it's the same thing. So,
Yeah.
we always so to lean into trial and error also means to just embrace, okay, I'm still learning, but I am able to do things even though I'm not perfect at it, and to just try over and over again without overthinking it, because when you just do the things, you will learn so much more than if you just think about the thing. And I really want to tell one story about this.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I did a sculpture course in Sicily this spring, early summer, and I started to do the sculpture. You cannot see it behind me; it's a little bit
Oh,
in my yeah, it's up there. But I did the sculpture, and I started, and I haven't worked with clay in a long time, so I was kind of figuring it all out, and I was really frustrated because I couldn't get the shape right. And on the second day, I was always um, kind of fixing the mistakes I made on the first day. And I was repairing things and taking stuff out. But I was always in, yeah, I was just always fixing my mistakes instead of continuing on building the sculpture. And after the second day, I said to my teacher, I think I'm gonna start over. And he knows me from way back. So he was my drawing teacher when I was 17, so 10 years ago.
wow.
And um, I said, okay, I think I'm gonna start over. And he was like, no, you are so far along. If you stop now and you start over, you lose all this progress. And I said, I'm telling you, I will be much quicker if I just stop, say, okay, I failed, this didn't work, and I will just start over again. And he was really upset with me. And I said, okay, I'm just going to sleep on it. I will talk to you about it in the morning. And the next morning I said, I'm going to tear down my sculpture now. And he was like, I
I
cannot
cannot
even
look.
watch. Yeah, I cannot look. And within that one day, I was at the same point and even further along in the progress as I was within the first 3 days of doing the course. So
Wow.
And just because I knew what to look out for and how to build it in a way from the beginning that worked better, I was just much quicker. And it was a more fulfilling experience because I wasn't always fixing, but I was just continuing on in a flow. So I think this is just, I don't know. That's about the trial and error. I was just like, what
Yeah,
was
yeah,
I talking
yeah.
about? Yeah, about trial and error and saying, okay, this was an error. This is an error, and I need to try again. And I need to just radically quit whatever I'm doing and start over. It can be the most freeing experience
Yeah.
ever to just say, okay, and to not see it as failure, but as, okay, I tried something, it didn't work, it was an experiment, now I'm gonna experiment in a different way. And it's just this way of thinking about it that will free up so much pressure.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's so liberating. Like when I think of having that freedom, like, like having fun, trying,
Yeah.
like doing it. And then it's like, okay, that was like a mistake. And it's okay. Like you learn from it. But it's really like you have to be. I believe it's so funny how humans work, because it's
Yeah.
like we put ourselves, like we either put ourselves in two extremes in an healthy way. Like we either put ourselves on a pedestal of like, yeah, everyone can try, but I'm not, like I'm too good to be seen failing, or I cannot try. Like
Oh,
you kind of
yeah.
put yourself on a pedestal, like, no, I cannot try because they cannot see me fail, or I cannot like try something brand new. You are putting yourself on a pedestal.
Yeah, it's ego.
Yeah, it's like, yes, I'm up here, everyone else can try, and I'll be like, yes, it's nice that you tried, yes, you learn again. But then when it comes to you, you don't allow yourself to try or to experiment, to like, to, because when you are doing that, like for example about your statue, you could be worried like, oh, the teacher will think that I'm a failure, or that
Yeah.
I'm not like, but
Yes.
you're like, fuck it, like
Yeah.
like you are okay with that. And that, like, for me, it's such a liberation, because it's not only about creating a class, creating a statue, creating like a like artistic thing, but
Mm.
about life, like how
Yes.
do you take life? It's like,
Yeah.
are you, because many times in my life I took myself so seriously, like, like this is a big deal, so seriously I have to do it right. And it's like, and it's so like, oh, it's so heavy. It's so
Yeah.
heavy.
Yes, it's heavy. And oh man, I had so many thoughts and I lost one. But it will come
Don't
back to
worry.
me. And
Don't
I
worry.
think it is this fear of judgment, of how
Yes,
other
absolutely.
people will perceive
Perceive
you.
me. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I mean, and I think it's also, I right now I am working through a lot with my witch wound.
Yes.
And I think it also ties into this. I mean, I was bullied in school. I had so many different situations and experiences in my life where I was so heavily judged for who I am
Yeah.
and put down. And also it felt like this execution sometimes. And yeah, and there was so many experiences I could talk about, but it all comes down to, okay, do you let this fear lead you, or do you let your authentic inner essence lead you?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I am also often afraid. And I mean, when I first started posting on Instagram, I also got so many hate comments. And even some people from my past, like only a couple of months ago, a girl wrote me that she doesn't understand why I'm posting about what I do for work, because she follows me because she wants to know what's going on in my personal life, and she's just not interested in what I'm sharing. But by the way, you look amazing, you have glowing skin, and I was always jealous of you. And I'm like, oh my
What?
god, what is happening?
What?
And this is kind of just one experience that I have had so many times. And I think, of course, I am also afraid of what people will think, but I just work
Yeah.
through it. And oftentimes I'm just like, oh, I feel the muse and the connection to my purpose and whatever wants to be created through me on such a deep level that I am dedicated to that. And that is more important than anything anyone could ever say about me. It just does not matter. What
Wow.
wants to be created through me is so much bigger than I am. And I'm kind of honored that I was chosen by these ideas to be channeled into the world through me. So, oh my God, when this idea came to me, I need to honor it. I need to dedicate myself to it. And I cannot just let other people stop me from working for this higher power, you know?
Wow, yes, absolutely. It's just so, because yes, I resonate totally, because is this still like, of course we like, even when I do things or create things, I still like feel, oh, people might judge or people might say, but then it's like I feel so much like passion when I'm doing this. I feel so much alive. This is so my authenticity, as you said.
Yeah.
Like if I don't do it or I don't create it or I'm not the way that I am, like I just feel like no, that's not like that's not the example that I want to give. That's not how I want to take life, like I really I want, and even like sometimes I feel like many times like I still feel like the tension of my mind saying, oh, what other people are going to say, like like almost like the external pressure, or afraid of the judgment, or afraid of
Yeah.
like being called crazy. But I'm okay with that already, like the witchy witch. In the beginning of no, in the beginning of my process, like when I was like 22, 22. No, I think I was already 22. No, I said 22. I wouldn't say 21. But yeah, I was 22 years old. And I remember, like, in the first sessions with my therapist, I was so different than what I am right now, like the
Yeah.
liberation that I got. But it was like, oh, yeah, I'm just so afraid of being like crazy, like of being judged like
Mm.
crazy. And like,
Yeah.
but now, like, people really know that I'm crazy. I'm a little bit woohoo. Like, and I'm okay with that, because now it's just, I'm like, oh, this is it's who I am. And I know that people also, the right people, really appreciate that in me. And if they
Yes.
don't, if they don't, then it's not meant to be my friend or my partner or my
Yeah.
whatever. But it was really like that fear of being like judged, being like heavy judged, heavy like criticized, and yeah, being like as a witchy, like a witchy person, or the
Yes.
crazy, like yeah. But now
Yes.
I'm like, now I'm with peace of it. Like I have people in my life where they really don't understand what I speak or what I like, and like more of the spiritual, energetic, and but I'm like, I don't care. Like I literally don't care anymore. Like I'm just like, I love
Yeah.
this. Like,
Yes. Yeah, and I think crazy is one of the shadow words that are so closely connected to the witch wound, to just
yeah,
because it's if we talk about masculine and feminine energy, it is everything that is innately the feminine energy, the intuition, emotion, um creativity. Feminine energy is always connected to the inner realm, but also the realm of ideas and potential, everything
hmm,
that cannot be seen. And so much of that has been shunned in our society. So much of that has been kind of called crazy in our
yeah,
society. And so every time, so I think that's just natural if you are so connected to your feminine energy and so connected to this realm that is within you, but also the mystical and the mundane,
hmm,
then you will always kind of feel like, oh, I don't fit into the our shared reality, our physical reality, where everything is kind of focused on the tangible things. So,
yeah,
yeah, so that is the witch wound, basically, if we break it down, the fear of judgment and rejection for this inner power that we hold.
yeah,
And yeah, so crazy is one of these words. And I also feel like I have integrated it so much. I used to be called crazy a lot. And now it doesn't really happen to me that much anymore. And I feel like now I have kind of shifted into a space where all the people around me just see me and embrace who I am, and even
Mhm.
if my family does not really understand and I don't go into depth with them, they kind of still support me in general and support that I am just on my own journey and doing whatever feels right to me.
Yeah, that's the
And
most important thing because not everyone will understand it. Like that's
yeah,
if we will never be understood by everyone, we will not be liked by everyone. And that was also the thing about like but that's like everyone has people pleasing tendencies and of being like, oh,
yeah,
I hope everyone likes me, like blah blah.
yes,
And then it's like really, like if you want everyone to like you probably have to hide away certain things when you are
yeah,
in that person, then another things when you are in that person. But right now I feel like the same to me, like I'm feeling so at ease like with this part of me. Yeah, I love the mystical, the spiritual, the connection with the unseen, with the universe, whatever you want to
yeah,
call it, and well, all these air quote crazy things to the tangible, to the tangible life. But
yeah,
I'm so at peace with it that I don't even like we don't attract people anymore saying stuff to us, because once you accept within yourself,
yes, yeah,
like you will in your because the external reality is just a mirror. So
mm,
when you are still judging that part of you, when you're still like when I was still like not accepting it, I will attract certain things that maybe they were not even that bad, but I will get very emotional or I'll get very like
yeah,
reactive. But now I don't anymore. Like people can literally say, oh, you're so crazy, like you live in your own world, and I'm like, yes I do, yes I do.
yes, yeah. But also, I think it's so interesting. I had a conversation with a few girlfriends of mine this past weekend about the exact same thing, and she said that what did I want to say about the crazy
About
and
like being the thing like that you also want to accept within yourself, like
yeah.
the external reality will not.
Yeah, yes, and yeah, now I remember because she said, okay, there are always two sides of the story. You know,
Hmm.
someone who is so anchored in the physical reality. And I think it is important to live in both worlds. And
Yes.
especially if you have such a strong feminine energy, it is important to anchor in reality.
Yep.
But she said, okay, there are always two sides to the story. So if someone could see you as crazy because you are so much in the spiritual realm and the realm of potential, and they are so anchored in reality that this seems just foreign to them. But
Yeah.
you could also say that the other person that is called crazy thinks, wow, you are so boring. Your life must be
Yes.
so mundane and not magical or mystical at all if you don't experience this whole other reality that is there. You know, you could also see it
Yes.
completely the other way around. Like, you don't experience the magic of life. What is life about for you? What do you mean?
And I'm like, this is so cool. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's exactly that. Like, that's why I think it's like finding the balance and just even ourselves. Like I'm still like really practical on some levels. Like I love like the 3D world. Like I
Yeah.
genuinely love, like I'm not that type of person that is like, oh yeah, I want to be I'm spiritual and I want to be meditating all the time
Yeah.
and being excluded from the society. No, I love to be like a human and do human things. I love to be in a city. I love to go out at dinner. And I love to go party sometimes. Like I love like all the material side of life.
Yes.
I genuinely love, like I love the luxuries of life. I love how beautiful the earth is. I love clothes. I love fashion. I love art. I love beauty. Like, and that's all material. But of course, it's also like feminine because it's beauty, it's expression. But for me, it's like I genuinely love like the material life, and
Yeah.
we are. I believe that, for example, the manifestation process is like bringing. We have this source energy within us, and is materializing it, and that's it. That's why we're here. Like material.
Yes.
Let's expand more. Let's manifest more. Let's That's the thing. It's not as an escape. You know what I mean? It's like to
Yes,
embrace life.
exactly.
It's so much
Yeah.
fun.
Yes, exactly. And this is the integration of feminine and masculine energy.
Yeah.
Exactly what you said, that we are channels for this divine energy to bring into the world, bring into the tangible. This is the connection between the feminine and
Yeah.
the masculine. And if you see all these feminine aspects like spirituality, but anything that is more going out of the ordinary as escapism, like most people
Hmm.
do in partying, taking drugs,
Yeah.
and or even in spirituality to just go on a retreat, go into vipassana or take ayahuasca, and to say,
Yeah.
okay, now I have. It treats the spiritual realm as this experience, as something
Yeah.
separate from reality, which is it? It
Yes.
is not.
Yes. I
So
never resonated with that. Like
yeah,
never. For me, it was always like, this doesn't make like for me was like no,
yeah,
doesn't make
and
doesn't
this
feel right.
is this way of expression of feminine energy is the extreme polarity, and it is kind of if you so it is an imbalance between masculine and feminine energy. So
Hmm.
if you, I don't want to like shame this or anything. I think it's very natural, and there
Hmm.
are a lot of ways to integrate more. But if you use spirituality as an escape from reality, you split up your feminine energy and your masculine energy in
Mm.
space and time,
Wow.
and to bring them together and to fully feel yourself in every moment, you need to bring them together in every single moment, and allow yourself to experience all these feminine aspects just in your daily life in any moment, and realize that those two are so closely connected. That's also why you, when you say, okay, I love the tangible world, I love the tangible world too. I mean, that's what creativity is all about. It's about, wow, you are such an active creator of reality, and you can change reality. And it's a
Yeah.
beautiful place to be and experience as a central being that we all are. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to say about that.
No, I love that because for me it's like so that like because sometimes I don't know if it's only here in Portugal, I don't know, but like people have the idea, oh, you're spiritual, so then you are just like hippie and you're just like ooh,
Yeah.
like, and then it's like not like that. It could be, but it doesn't have to be. Like you can still enjoy money, you can still enjoy houses, you can still enjoy clothes, like the material, just the material life. Like I
Yeah.
genuinely love it, and it's like it's because I see it everything in the quantum physics, everything is energy. So all everything, the money is energy, the car is energy, the house is energy, this computer, so everything is not separate. Like this is still
Yes.
spirit, this is
Yeah.
still this earphone, this is still God, this everything. So it's like there's not there, it
There
doesn't
is no
exist.
separation.
There's no
Yes.
separation, it doesn't
Yeah.
exist. So that's why it's so like you see something, it's like, oh wow, this is all like energy, this is all consciousness, this is all part of one. I love
Yes.
that a woman that I love, Katy Heller, she says this like, we are a masterpiece because we are a piece of the master. So
Yes.
it's like we are not even separate, we just
Yeah.
we are just a piece of the master. We are the consciousness as well. Like we are the whole thing, but also like is the analogy of like you are the wave in the ocean, but you're still the ocean, but you think you are
Yes.
just a wave.
Yeah.
But
And I
like
think
that.
there is this massive shift right now in our collective consciousness. If I lead into my channel side,
Go ahead. I
there,
love that.
there is this massive shift right now that really embraces this form of spirituality. And you can see it in a rise of just mindfulness in general, but incorporating it into daily life. It seems much
Mm-hmm.
more accepted also in the mainstream. The same goes for astrology. And I think there's this
Yes.
big movement to just integrate this feeling of oneness into our daily life and to not see it separately. And I think that's also why collectively the witch wound comes up right now a lot, because
Mm.
it it is kind of the shaming of the feminine energy. And once we work through that collectively and we embrace the feminine energy, then we will all be able to just integrate the two and feel like, wow, this is just oneness, this belongs together, and there is no separation between the two energies,
Yeah.
but between the inner and the outer realm, between the spiritual reality and the physical reality, there is
Yes.
just oneness of energy. And
Yes.
yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
beautiful that, and I think that's also why we attracted each other so much, because we have the same understanding of reality, kind of.
Yes, for me it's like so refreshing because it's like there was a part like of when like almost dive into more the spirituality, like there was a part of it that I really resonated, or at least a type of lifestyle or whatever. And I love when I connect with people like you that is like, yeah, that we really see like reality in the same way, and it's so for me it's so like liberating because you just feel like yes, there's more people like me and it's
Yes.
okay, like. And yes, and then I was just thinking about this, that Abraham Hicks says that is like everything is first energy, everything first exists energetically. So
Yes.
even like this, the more people that are more skeptical, and I have a strong skeptical part of me, like of like, oh, why is this like this, why I have to learn, I have to study. But it's like the first person that created a chair, like they first had to imagine it. So it
Yeah.
was first on the energetic realm, right? So it was on the first on a feminine polarity, and then once you're able like to imagine, then you can materialize it, you can manifest it. So it's just everything is first energy. And
Yes.
I love this idea that this can be a little bit trippy, but it's like, our material reality right now, it's like it's delayed all the time. So it's like kind of, because like on energetic level, you might live, and I might live already in a different like reality, and this material reality is always delayed. That's why when you close your eyes, you can, for example, imagine, I don't know, in 1 month, as you said, the exponential growth, you
Yes.
can already feel it, you can already see it, you can already imagine it, you can feel it. But your external reality that you
Needs,
receive with your senses, like with your eyes, with your ears, with your touching, is still delayed. It's always
yeah, it needs
delayed.
to catch
So
up.
yeah, it's always like it's still like a delayed. So that's why people say, like, even in a manifestation, it's like, don't worry, like don't focus on the external reality right now because it's delayed, because this external reality is a manifestation of the past. So for
Yeah.
example, us right now is a manifestation of what we've been like emanating and what we've been like
Yeah.
thinking. And now, like, I found it so fascinating, like, okay, the reality is always delayed because my physical senses, they perceive this, but my inner being, my imagination, my feelings, they can perceive already like way more, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think at the same time, it is so important. So it's not like to oppose that point, but to integrate it more. That is why it is so important to stay present.
Yes, yes, yes.
Because if you, I mean, if you only live in your imagination and the future that you want, or you only live
Mm,
in the past of what happened before, then you are disconnected from the present. And I think the way that our reality catches up to us energetically, um, we need to be present in the moment, in our body right now, and allow ourselves to experience reality so that it can shift, so that we
yes.
experience the shift in the reality.
Yes, like the manifestation, the creation process, it's always on the present moment, like
Yeah.
always. And for me, that also has been what I've been like putting the intention in the last week, is like really feeling present, fully enjoying, not like waiting for that thing to come to then be
Yes.
happy, but
Yeah.
like really being present because like once you are in appreciation mode, like once you are appreciating your present, you're just going to attract more things of appreciation.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's like, for me, like as I said, it's funny to think like, oh yeah, the materiality is always like delayed, but to share with everyone listening, the most important thing is like being in the present moment and enjoying, and of course also connecting with our visions. But it's
Yeah,
integrating
it
the
is.
two of them.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that.
Um, Another thought came up and I lost it again. Wow, this happens
They're
to
like
me so much in
they're
the
like
podcast. I'm
dancing.
like
Woo! We
all
are
of
like
these thought
tuning
ideas.
steps on.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because when you start on this flow, like it's just crazy. It happens so many times to me before I go to bed. Like I start imagining like having conversations with people. I imagine like imagining that I was on a podcast with you, and then so many things come and conversation and ideas, and then it's like, of course, it's always different, but it's so fun. Like how when you open the channel,
Yes.
it just
Yes, exactly. And in our last session afterwards, I was so open. I feel like when we connect, I open my channel. So, in such an intense way, I have that with a few people. But after we
oh
spoke, during the day, I went outside for a walk, and within the first 10 minutes, four strangers came up to me and started talking to me. And I was like, what is going on? I was talking, I was recording a voice memo to a friend. So I was walking and talking to
yeah.
with my headphones in. So I actually, from the outside, in the physical reality, I must have been perceived as very closed off just in my
Uh-huh.
own world, but energetically I was so open, so all of these people started
Yeah.
talking to me. And in the voice I was like to my friend, wow, I need to do some energy work because I'm way too open right now. I need to close off my field again.
That's so funny. Like four people just been talking to you. Oh
Yeah, just
wow.
randomly. Yeah.
That's
So
amazing. Oh, I'm so glad. I always like, I could continue like for hours and
forever.
hours.
Yeah, me too.
It's like, can this be like 5 hour long podcast with a little water break? Because that's the thing. It's so fascinating because that's why I love like this, because you are in a conversation, the other person says one thing, and then you just open like,
Yeah.
oh, it's so much fun.
Yes, and that's also something I shared with you before in my intuition class with this deep listening. And I think it's so interesting because what we were saying about opening the channel and like jumping off each other, that's actually listening for the potential. And
Mm,
there are different ways of listening in conversation, and that's something you can also take into any other conversation or interaction or action in general in your life, the state of deep listening. So there are different levels. And the first one is just listening for similarities or differences in the
yeah.
conversation and listening for facts. And then you move on to listening for emotions and in an empathic way where you also think about putting yourself into the shoes of the other person and thinking about what the other person feels. And then beyond that, and I think most of our conversations stay on these two levels, but beyond that is listening for the potential of what wants to arise in the moment and what actually wants to come through and how we can kind of give each other to grow and expand in a way within the conversation. So always listening to what else there could be beyond what is happening. And I feel like in our conversation, that is just what we are doing, jumping off of
Yes.
each other and just tapping into the potential and all of these different things. That's why I'm
Oh,
always losing what I was thinking because
yeah.
there are so many things going on.
But that I love that because that's my favorite kind of like conversations, because you just feel the fool, right? You just
Yes.
feel like there's a movement within you, and you just feel so much aliveness, and it's for me, it's just a pleasure. I cannot even. I wanted to also say something, but then I just slipped away. I had like a, I had like a potential, like, oh, let's bring it there. What it was? Oh, now I know. I just got it. Because like even before, like I was like, okay, yesterday I was like, okay, today I'm going to record a podcast, And you know, there might be some podcasters or whatever that they want to have an interview program, and I'm not like that at all, because I love to tap. Of course, we can have, like, as we shared with one another, like topics of
Yeah.
references. I love that, like keywords or like topics, but I love to allow like all of this, like, to come. For me, it's
Yes.
way more fun, like, to have like a program interview. So, what did you do? Like, you know, it's very rigid. It's not
Yes.
very me in that sense, and I love that. I mean, we talk about so many things, right? Like,
Yes. I feel like we covered all the topics that we talked about
and
beforehand.
even beyond. I think we just
Yeah.
went like, I think I will invite you for another episode, like,
Yes,
so we
definitely.
can go, because I'm also very interested in one thing, but I'm a little bit afraid that then the episode will be like too long now. So that's why I was like,
Okay.
okay, maybe we'll save it for.
Maybe, yeah, maybe we can do a little sneak peek for the next episode
Yes, yes. So
and
the
just
sneak
tap
peek.
into it shortly.
I love that sneak peek. So yeah, I have. There was a question, or at least a curiosity that I had about you, was like, because I know that you are self-employed, and you become self-employed like after you finish like university, right?
Yes, yeah.
So for me, like, from that was very interesting to dive into that journey, how it was, like, you know, because you just jumped right into being self-employed, having your own business. And of course, not only that, because you know that once you go in one topic, then we open the channel. But I find it, for me, because I love to hear the stories of the people, you know, as well, like, how was that process? Because, you know, it takes a lot of like courage as well, and it takes
Yeah.
a lot of, you know, that your inner work, so you are freeing yourself each time, and then your business is a reflection of who you are. And it's like, I guess it's a big journey, and yeah, I find it
Yes.
very inspiring.
Yeah, so without going too deep into it,
Yeah,
I think,
like a sneak peek.
yeah, so I mean, I felt like when I was studying interior architecture, from the beginning, I thought, okay, I think I need to be self employed. I
Hmm.
worked for other people and oftentimes in kind of assistance roles, but I was so interested in business in general. And it was kind of a hobby of mine to just listen to a lot of business podcasts and
Wow.
kind of without even having the goal of, okay, I want to make a lot of money and be self-employed and own a business or something
Yeah.
like that, but just I think that these stories, as you said, of people starting their own thing is just so inspiring and interesting. So I always had this kind of inkling that I wanted to be self-employed. And within my studies, I always felt like what I said in the beginning, that interior designer, interior architect was kind of a limiting definition for me. And I
Yeah.
felt like I'm so much more, there's so much more to explore. And within my studies, I also already tapped into that and went much more into the philosophy of design and philosophy of our awareness of the physical reality, basically.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of topics for me. And then I think it was I had a few pivotal moments where it became more and more clear for me that I wanted to start my own thing. And then in the last semester of university, I was like, okay, I know that I need to be self employed. Now I know for sure. And how am I going to do this? Because the natural path is actually, or the path that is laid out is for you to first work for 2 years before you are
Hmm.
able to become self-employed as an interior architect. Before that, you can only be an interior designer. That's just like this thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to work for someone else for 2 years.
I
And
feel you.
yeah, and then there was this moment. I mean, I will just, this is also a manifestation story. And I, when I tell the story, this will just be the last little story snippet
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
how it started.
Yeah, this is going to be our part one, and then we'll definitely have like a part two episode.
And I always feel like I need to preface the story with, this might sound crazy.
Here we are. We are a little bit crazy. I guess the people that, if you're still here with us, like
Yeah,
you
you are
already
here
know that
with
we
the
are a
right
little bit,
people. Yeah, if you're
yeah.
still here, you are the right people to hear the story. And so I knew I wanted to be self-employed. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I knew that I could start into going into design, but I felt there were so many limiting beliefs around that were
Hmm.
programmed in during my studies, which was crazy. But so I felt like, oh, I'm not so confident in doing this. And then there were a few things. So I found Daisy, and I did a few um, master classes with her on abundance, and I have done multiple programs with her. She has
Yeah.
been a big influence and support
Yeah, she's
on this
amazing.
journey. Yeah. And she did this program that was called The Birth of Venus and Hermes, and it
Hmm.
is business coaching about feminine and masculine energy. And I resonated so much with masculine and feminine energy that I felt like, wow, this is just the right program for me because this is how I understand everything. So I felt really called to do it. But I didn't have a job lined up after university. I had a little bit of rest money to last me for the next 2 months,
Yeah.
and but not beyond that. And I was going on vacation for a whole month, so I knew that
I love these stories.
anything saved up after that. And it was like 2 weeks. I knew after coming back from vacation I would have 2 weeks to find a job. And it was 1 week before my vacation, and I thought, okay, I really want to do this business coaching. And sorry, there was a sound of my computer. I hope it
Don't
wasn't too
worry.
loud. So okay, we are 1 week before going on vacation. I don't have a lot of money left. I know that I need to get a job, and I really want to do this business coaching. And it is a big investment.
Yeah.
And there are these investments where, so I could pay 500 euros a month, so I could split up the payments for the program.
Yeah.
And I felt really called, and I thought, okay, I can afford the first payment, but I don't know what I will have left to live off. But
You
I
and
can
the
do the
business
first
coach
payment.
without food. Yeah.
And I do not recommend this to anyone because this is just the way I manifest. And I know a lot of people that do not manifest in this way. So you need to be able to really do these risky things or jumps if you want to
Yeah.
do this way. And you need to have such a strong trust muscle to be able to
Yes,
handle
exactly.
this.
If you don't have it, it's better to not do it because then you're
Yeah.
going to be stressed out.
Yeah.
You're not going to be in the right
Yes,
vibration, like to
yeah,
receive. So,
yes,
yeah,
exactly. So, but I trust so much that this is the right thing. I need to do this. And okay, I can afford the first payment. I will figure it out.
yeah.
And I did it, and I was so scared to tell anyone. But I was like, I'm gonna do
I can
it.
imagine. I can
And
imagine.
I did it. And the next day, I kid you not, I received 500 euros from like my mother and my sister for some small design jobs that I did for them. And they we didn't even talk about money, but they gifted me just a little bit of money. So immediately I got back the first payment. And on the same
Wow.
day, a friend of mine called me, hey, I know that you are looking for a job. I have an offer for you. While I was on vacation, I had my interview for this a part-time job, customer service, just like a regular thing, to just support me for the time during the business coaching. So,
Oh
and
my
it just
God.
fell into my lap. I did all the like negotiation
I
and
love
interview
this story so
because
much.
like I was in on Corsica, and I was like next to a river, climbing up the hill to talk on the phone to these people from the job. It was just like
But that's
all of these
like
crazy
that's life goals.
situations.
Like you're on vacation, like, yes, I just received a job, like
Yeah,
opportunity, like
no
and
big deal.
no big
And I
deal.
didn't look for a job. I didn't at all. And I I knew that I needed to look for a job, but I didn't put any effort into it. And I always felt like I
Wow.
don't need to look, it will find me. And it was just all
Oh,
in
I want to clap
trust.
that because I believe in that so much, like literally.
And
Oh,
then just to finish off the story, I was laying by the beach on Corsica, and I was reading this book. It's called Women Who Run with the Wolves.
yes,
And
I've read a few
yeah,
years
and it's
ago.
just so inspiring and really
Yes.
tapping into this deeper wisdom. And then I was going into the ocean, and I was kind of floating on the waves, and was just like, okay, Muse, what should I do? What should I teach? And I had this massive
Oh, wow.
download while floating on the waves in the ocean of doing this kind of creative coaching and teaching my process, because I had put so much effort into developing a process and systems and habits for myself,
Wow.
and to have this creativity that feels in flow but very clear, to have this combination of masculine and feminine energy. So it all kind of went through me as a download, and that's how Creative Waters was born. So
I love this story. I love to know these
yeah,
stories. I'm so happy that you shared. Like, we will go into it in the next
yeah.
part
And
two
I mean,
because
everything else has been a wild journey from that point on, but that is just the beginning origin story.
the beginning was just like, imagine, like, I just feel so happy that I'm with someone that shared with me this story because I totally believe, like, I know that this is how it works, like, at least for us
Yes,
kind of people. And it's so inspiring because it's like, oh, she told me this story for a reason, because I'm also like, I manifested hearing this story. I was also
yes,
needing to hear this story because
yeah,
of my moment of my life right now. And oh, it's just, you just open my mind. You just like, when yeah, you are just an expander for me. That concept
yeah,
of being like an expander. Someone tells you a story and you just expand your possibilities.
yes,
You just
yeah,
expand the possibilities that you thought would be possible. And I
yeah.
feel it hearing that story. So thank you so much. I couldn't stop. Like, I'm like so hyped up, plug in, tapped on, as Happy said. I
Yes,
love this so
and
much.
yeah, I think I also needed to tell the story again, because this is just
I'm
how.
obsessed with the story.
Yeah,
I'm going to listen again and again because it gives me so much faith. It gives me
yeah.
so much, like, yes, everything does work out if you
It's
are like really in that trust.
yeah, it's rooted in a really, really deep trust in myself, in my
Yeah.
own decisions, and in the universe. And it's like, and it's
I
moving with
really.
love. I always think about this, just to close it off. Something I remind myself of is I I fall in love and the universe catches me. And this is
Wow.
also a mantra that I always remind myself of, to just, if I let myself fall in trust and sink deeper in love, and also strengthen this connection, this deep love for life and for living and
Mm.
creating my own life, then the universe will support me and catch me when I fall. So, this has been my
Wow.
experience throughout the past 2 years. Um, like in the most crazy, I could tell you so many stories like this. So, this
Oh,
is
I
how my
next
life is
part
just
two. I love
turn
them.
back in for part two.
Yes, definitely. Like, oh, but that was the perfect saying mantra to end. Like, you
Yeah,
fall in love and the universe always, how do you say, always gets you or
catches
catches.
me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just felt like such a relief, like hearing that mantra, because that's what I want to live as well. That's the mantra that I want to live on, is to being in
Yeah.
love, and falling in love with the vision, with that idea, with the decision
Yes.
that you just made, and know that the universe is there to catch you, to support you, supply everything to you, give you everything you need in the most magical ways, because you didn't know that that
Yay!
friend of yours just called you. Like
Yeah,
what? And your
but I
mom and your
knew.
sister, they just gave you money.
Yeah, but on a level I knew, and I think this is the important thing. It's not just, oh, I'm gonna do this risky thing and somehow it will work out. I
Yeah.
had this deep
Yes.
feeling of, I know I do not need to look for a job because it will find me. I know that the money will come back in, and I know I can go on vacation right now and still figure it all out, even though it sounds crazy to all these other people and everyone
Yes.
thinks that it's so absurd. I know it for a fact because I trust so deeply in my intuition and I'm so guided. So,
Oh, that's beautiful. So inspiring,
yeah.
Tavia. I love every little thing about this. I'm going to listen literally again to this podcast because I'm so excited to go back and listen because
Yeah, me too.
woo,
I feel the same way. I'm like, wow, what did we talk about?
what did we say? I don't even remember now because it's like it's just a flow that you don't even remember what you talked about. But
Yeah,
oh, you're so
amazing.
inspiring. I adore you. Really, I
I
admire
adore
you.
you
I think,
too.
oh, I just love you a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you to everyone. And also for to finish it off, where people can find you if
Yes.
they want to work with you, like, or they want to
Yes.
know you better.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at
Yeah,
Tabea Zoé, but I also have a second account that is called Creative Wasser. It's Creative Waters in German. So it's all about, it goes deeper into the philosophy and my creative process. And if you just are looking for some inspiration,
yeah.
and I talk a lot on my Instagram usually. So
Yes, you do. It's amazing.
yeah.
I
So
will put it down as well in the
yeah.
then on the comment section.
Yeah, and if this airs in time, I have an upcoming Creative Waters immersion. It is a day retreat in Berlin. So if
I
you're in
wish I
Berlin
was
by any
there.
chance,
Really. I was like, I want to, I lived in Berlin. I love Berlin. So I was like,
yeah,
I wish I was there. I would definitely join. But
yeah. So if you are
okay.
in Berlin on the 16th of December, I'm doing a whole day retreat. It's split up into two parts, and it's all about the integration of feminine and masculine energy in the creative process. And right now, I'm not offering that many like smaller sessions, but I also want to shout out my quiz. So I have
Yes.
a quiz on feminine and masculine energy where you can find out what your dominant energy is, and you will also receive some tips on how to integrate your energy and how to kind of lean into the other polarity a bit more. And if
Amazing.
you really want to dive deep with me, I'm opening my space for one-on-one mentoring as well. So this will be online and you can check it out on my website. You will just find it through my Instagram as well. So
Yes. But
it
I
is,
will link it everything down
yeah,
below.
yes, this
Yeah.
is for the ones that really want to go deep with me and
It's amazing.
work on limiting beliefs and everything that is holding you back in your creative process and just creating an aligned and authentic life for yourself because it goes beyond just your
Yes.
creativity because
Exactly.
everything of life is creation. So it is
Yes.
really about everything in your life and creating structures and habits that support you on your journey. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally recommend, guys. I had a session with Tavea and it's just amazing. It was like also manifestation for me. So there's
Yay!
so much to talk about. There's so much to talk about. And thank you so much. Like
Thank
literally I
you
could
so much
keep
for having
going
me.
on for the whole day and still
Yeah.
like feeling energized because that's the magic. Like you feel energized. I feel so energized.
Yeah,
And
me
it
too.
was like, I
Thank you
adore
so much.
you. Thank you. And thank you guys for like listening to us. And
Yeah.
yes,
Thank you
with
so
so
much
much
for
joy.
having me. I'm
You're
so grateful to
welcome.
be your first guest.
Yeah. And I'm so excited for the part two. I'm already like,
Yes.
I can't wait. I can't wait to turn on the channel like again and like,
Yes.
woohoo, and open. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
amazing.
Thank you
I
so
wish
much.
you so
Love
much love
you.
and have a beautiful day. And yes, we see each
Yeah.
other very, very soon.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.